Hi, my name is Jordan Monteiro. You can also call me just Jordan. You don't call me my full name. Jordy, Jojo. I have a lot of nicknames, but let's see. So this work in particular is based off of my dream journal series, and it's pretty straightforward. It's literally just, dreams that I pick and choose, some of the symbols in the work that I decide to use in the work, some that I find a little more important or significant than others. In a way, it's a little bit of like, self-therapy for myself. I feel like dreams are, sort of reflective of our anxieties, fears, and overall being. So I think that sort of relates back to like the title of this exhibition, Human Condition Manifest. But yeah, that's sort of what this work is all about. I'm just going to leave it at that, leave it simple. Does anyone have any questions? Oh gosh. What is my favorite piece? This one took a lot of work, a lot of sweat. That one took the most sweat. But I feel like maybe my favorite one in particular, maybe the one right there, because that one's sort of, it's for the parents, is kind of what started it all, I think. Good question. Good question. I feel like this is like all artists, maybe. All artists sort of have like their palette and it's unintentional. And for me, that's a lot of like reds, oranges. Again, it is unintentional. I try really hard to get out of it. And I'm like, let's do pink. And I'm like, wait, that's still like the same thing. So I try, but I always sort of end up doing something a little warmer. It's unintentional, but yeah, good question. What am I doing, like, as far as, like, if it's, like, third person, first person sort of thing? I have a mix. So I don't know, like, what it's like for other people, but I typically will either have a first person dream or a third person. Typically, the first person's always more scary because that's, like, it feels like it's you. I feel like they might be a little more surreal. When it comes to nightmares, I think that's, like, the best part about it, too, is that I can choose what I want. I don't necessarily have to depict the nightmares. Some of them afterward, as I'm analyzing it, I'm like, that was a nightmare. But like while you're in it, it doesn't really seem that way. Like this one is a little nightmarish. But yeah, I feel like it's not until after that I realize that was a nightmare. That was scary. Ooh, that's like the hardest and one of the best parts for me. I think the one I thought about the most is probably this one. And so I guess first off, I'm always thinking about it as I'm making it, not when it's finished. And I think that sort of like speaks to my process a little bit, because then it kind of like also determines like my composition and what have you. This one, for example, someone was looking at it, and I forgot who it was, but they were looking at the dragon, and maybe you're in here, but you're all, that kind of reminds me of the Nazca lines. That was you! Yeah, and I love the Nazca lines. I've always been obsessed with them, and I realized this one kind of looks like the big old bird, and so I was like, that's perfect, and in a way that it just sort of came together, and it made me realize like this is sort of what the piece is about. So I included it. Typically, it's I try to make it not so obvious, but sort of lead you into the narrative, if that makes sense. What induces your dreams? So I think I have dreams every night. I'll be totally transparent. When I started going on anxiety medication, it was a lot more vivid and a lot more like, whoa, when I first started going on it. But then after a while, it sort of became a little more like you get really used to it. And I don't think they're as crazy anymore, but I still definitely get like stuff that's strange. I think everyone gets things that are strange, but when I look back and I actually physically write it down in my journal, that's when I'm like, okay, that is crazier than I had originally thought. Yeah, so I'd say the best answer is when they fester and I'll be thinking about it throughout the day. I'll use this one as an example. So many things happened in this dream that I cannot remember, but I specifically remembered a specific moment in the dream, and I feel like that moment was best representative of like a whole and sort of like the message, if that makes sense. So I clung to it, and when I decided that's it, that's when I grabbed my journal and I just scribble on there like a little kid into my journal. But yeah, I hope that answered your question. So first of all, great question. Second of all, it definitely has inspired me to want to do more. And it seems kind of strange, right? It's like there's a bunch of paintings and there's like one installation piece. And I did that because I felt that the dream I had would best be represented as a 3D form. So it really just depends on the dream that I have or the symbols in the dream that I decide that I want to depict. In this case, yeah, I wanted it to be 3D. And I feel like because I've done this, there's more to come. So I don't know how many it's going to be, but yes.
Wonderful.
So in that question, I sort of highlighted the word manifest. To just put it out there, I have a fear of manifestation. So the fact that I put that in the title, I think is like, representative like the whole thing about dreams and nightmares. Typically when we think of dreams nowadays, it's like nightmares, and it's like, because dreams are typically always like crazy stuff. And we always sort of like, our dreams are overthinkers, right? They're dramatic, just like these pieces. They're dramatic, but I think what's most important is like the symbols that we find in them that actually represent something else. And humans, they levitate towards symbols, like the crucifix, for example. It's like, oh, it's so dramatic, but in like the larger scheme of things, it's like there's no real drama in our real lives, if that makes sense. So I hope that answers your question. Like the dramatization, but we're focusing more on the symbols, which is what humans are more attracted to. So two of them are not completely digital. There are parts of them, like I think it's the two on this side, that are the ones that are on either side. There's actually traditional works that I've done collaged into them. So in the beginning, I was really taking a lot of work that I had previously done and incorporating it into that, because dreams, they take things that we've done in the past anyway, or things that you've seen, and that's how we come up with dreams in the first place, so I thought it would make sense to physically do that as well. But yeah, the rest of it is digital. I have experienced deja vu, and I swear that thing's magical. I believe in magic, 100%. That's just a personal thing. But yeah, I have a fear of manifestation, and but deja vu I take super seriously, and deja vu's happened. Some of them have happened in like not so important parts of my life, but some have happened in very significant parts of my life as well, which is why I think I take them so seriously. But thank you for the question. I guess this sort of leads to the question from earlier. This isn't like there's painting involved in this, but if it's real, it's like you can touch it, right? Well, I definitely prefer traditional painting. First and foremost, I prefer traditional painting. I feel like for me, when I am painting traditionally, it's easier for me to layer things. In a digital format, you can literally layer, you know? Like there's those, like I don't know if anyone's familiar with Procreate or Photoshop, but you can literally, like actually have layers. But when it comes to like traditional, it's both easy and super hard. Like I had, as far as like these two works right here, I had problems with sequencing and a little bit of narrative. And when you're trying to find like that push and pull balance, it's a little harder, but I like it because then it also helps me grow a stronger narrative. And I mean, especially with dreams, it's kind of what it's all about, right? Is like narrative, it's super content heavy. So I feel like it's more of a workout when you're doing it traditionally mentally. So even like just with that, just the process itself, I think is why it's probably more impactful when it is a traditional piece. With this one, I think because this piece is a little more fear-based, I felt like it was more impactful for it to be that sort of thing that you can touch. Because when things are real, that scares people. You know, when it's something real. Versus something like this over here, where you'll have dreams where you can't quite control it. And that's the thing with paintings too, is that like you can't control what's happening in the piece. You can't quite touch it. You can't quite do anything. You can only observe. But in a way, it's less scary because you're like, it's just a painting. But here, it's like, that looks like a real toilet. This, you know, doesn't look like a real dragon, but it look, you know, something's going on here, you know. I got the toilet from Berkeley, and where's Tiffany? There's I wanted to be able to have like options as far as like what to. It's a crazy. When you're an artist, you're like, I want to make sure I get the right toilet. I can't just get any old toilet. I need the toilet. So she showed me pictures of this place called Urban Ore in Berkeley, and they have like this whole yard of stuff.
Do they have bathroom stalls?
Stuff.
Do they have bathroom stalls?
You know, they have a lot of stuff. I think they probably would have. But they had this whole thing of toilets. And I was like, yeah, I need choices. And everything there is used, you know. It's like a thrift store, but it's a warehouse. And a whole yard. Angie was with me. Sanchez was with me. Oh yes, let's clap for them. They helped me bring the toilet. Sanchez did the heavy lifting.
Toilet transporter.
I walked around.
Yeah. But yeah, that's where I got it. I got it in Berkeley. Yeah, well, I think I said earlier, it's my therapy, you know? I think it's like a form of like exposure therapy a little bit. So yeah, I would say, because then you walk around and you're like, okay, these things they're not real, but you know, yeah. So I feel like I get more uncomfortable feelings while I'm making the work. So if something, with that piece I encountered that. There was moments where I was like more uncomfortable or more anxious versus, and it had, like there are some more versus others, but I'd say that piece was probably the most, not anxious driven, but it did happen in my process. But that's when I think it happens the most, is like while I'm actually making them. So it doesn't happen fast. Like I think, like I said earlier, I have to fester it, and I have to really think about it for the whole day. When I'm getting out of bed, it's, you know, I'm sort of just like, what? And it's like sort of like the after effects of the dream. You're sort of like awake but not awake kind of deal. And it's throughout the day that I really just sit and I ponder the whole thing. Maybe in the middle of the day or the end of the day, I'll actually start writing things down. Because to me, I think earlier I said I believe in magic. So to me, the symbols and moments in the dream that I am sticking to more throughout the day are the most important to me, and I feel are like what I think should be represented. Or it's like something telling me that's what I should be using versus something else in the dream. We can talk about this one. So, this is one of the dreams I don't remember a lot from. I don't remember a whole lot, but I do remember I was running from something. I don't know what I was running from. I was trying to hide. I was trying to hide from something, and it was a first-person dream. So I could see my hands and my feet and what have you, but I was just trying to hide. And I go into this like really rickety old bathroom, and I just sat on a toilet. Not opened or anything, but I'm just like trying to, hide from something. Whatever it was, I don't know what it was. But I could feel inside the wall in front of me that there was like a dragon inside of it, watching me. Knew that I was there. It didn't do anything, but it was watching me. And I knew that it was inside the wall. So yeah, that's a little scary. But that was like the dream. That's sort of where I think it ended too, was like that moment, but I could just feel it just, it's, yeah, it's like, just overbearing aura over me. But yeah, that's one of the narratives. Like, there's a little, I think with dreams too, like there's a little bit of that unknown to everything. I'll say I was scared, but a lot of things that we're scared of too, like, end up they're not, meant to be scared of, because the dragon didn't do anything. It was just watching me. So maybe in a way it was like a sort of watcher, like maybe sort of symbolic of a guardian angel of some sort. Shrug, who knows? But in the dream, I think I was afraid. But yeah. Any other questions?
Speech, my lord.
Thank you very much.